Good evening, everyone. I hope and wish all of you and your family are doing well. Thanks a lot for taking time to join this webinar. I understand that this is a very unusual time with the lockdown in place and with the economic crisis. I'm sure it's been a tough time for everyone, both personally and professionally. But I'm sure that we all have the confidence to navigate this transition period with a lot of courage, grace, and unusual optimism. I'm sure about that. Um, as all of us can see now, that the world has realized that the life before the corona or COVID-19 and pre-corona and post-corona is going to be totally different. The world is preparing for the change and to embrace the new normal. And a lot of businesses are, facing new challenges every day. So at Argusoft, we thought that we'll take this opportunity to present you, uh, all the how we can help you to address these challenges and ensure that your business is really ready to cater to your customer needs when the market really opens up. So without taking too much of time, I'll quickly introduce the panelists today. We have three senior speakers today in this webinar. Ram Gopalan. Ram is based out of California. He's a seasoned entrepreneur with broad experience in business operation, strategic marketing, and he was involved in many mergers and acquisitions in the past. He has worked with a number of early stage companies in the US and India in many different advisory capabilities. Currently, he is in the role of managing director of Argusoft as well. So he will be the main speaker today. With him, we have Chandra Mauli. Chandra is based out of London. He's a seasoned business development leader with over 2 decades of experience. He has worked in US and then later in Singapore, and he has moved back to London to settle in 2004. He's been helping many SMEs and startups to establish their sustainable business in UK and Europe. So he's going to speak in this webinar. And we have Han Werbers from Amsterdam joining us for this webinar. He's also going to address us. And Han is a techno-commercial entrepreneur. He has more than 20 years of experience. He's been helping international businesses to expand their business operations in Europe and especially in Netherlands and Germany. And he will also be speaking in this webinar. Before I hand over the session to Ram, I would like to let all of you know that we do have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat pad. You all have option to enter your questions. We would be happy to take up as many questions as we can, respecting the time that we have for this webinar. And also, as announced at the end of the webinar, we will also be announcing the Amazon lucky winner for the Amazon gift voucher. So we'll make that announcement at the end of the webinar. So I think over to you, Ram. So you can start the presentation.
Thank you for the introduction, Ravi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time from your daily schedule to be with us. just wanted to give a brief description on how, as an IT group or as an IT company, how you can deal with these unique situations we are going through, the pandemic, and especially more so as we come out of it, how do you react to it? And as all of us are seeing and already getting a vision, the new normal is going to be something very different. And while many people are theorizing how it will be, nobody really knows. And that's the interesting part of this, how this pandemic is evolving. So focusing only from the IT and software perspective, which is a key component of most of the companies today, being a global and a digital world. So we thought we'll take this morning to address how we can help in a contribution in that domain. So agenda-wise, we had introductions by Ravi Shankar, who's our VP of Business Development. And then I will give a small presentation followed by a business overview of the UK, Denmark, and the Western Europe sector by Chandra, as well as Netherlands, Germany, that section by Hans. And then we'll open up for an interactive QA. So pandemic view of the world. We've seen SARS, MERS, and now COVID-19, which are all part of the coronavirus family. And they have shown that pandemics are going to be a way of life every few years going forward. And with each one, it's getting worse. Many of us never really bothered with SARS because it was mostly in Asia and contained. And COVID-19 is one of the first ones that has affected nearly all regions of the world. And already we can see it has very adverse impacts in a global economy, not just on health, but also on the economy itself, business, and the way of life. I mean, travel, hospitality, entertainment, as we knew it, is going to be very different when we emerge from this. The most important lesson to be learned is that during the pandemic, it requires a very quick changed response to address. And clearly there will be a new normal, and anticipating how that would impact your business segment, operating models, changing the way you look at things post the pandemic is going to be very important. So the key element of this that one has to be open to is embracing change. So change is inevitable in corporate life. You can resist it and potentially get run over by it, or you can choose to cooperate with it, adapt to it, and learn how to benefit from it. Sometimes it takes a harsh event like a pandemic to embrace change. Some of the concepts like video conferencing, telehealth, would take having a tough time getting into the mainstream. But this pandemic has given it an accelerated way to embrace that. So when you do embrace change, you will begin to see it as an opportunity for growth and how to get ahead with the change. So some of the corporate actions during this COVID-19 pandemic, the business slowdown definitely has led to budget adjustments. We are seeing revenue impacts that impact in reduction in the workforce, as well as some of the businesses are reporting an 80% drop in their business, especially ones that are connected with the hospitality industry or travel, for example. So businesses have to react based on that. HR activities traditionally for identifying and recruiting talent has become difficult. Because no matter what you say, face-to-face is always the overriding way of developing the confidence in talent. But embracing change, as I mentioned, has to happen here as well. But the key thing is ensuring continuity, especially with a lot of the restrictions like the lockdown or shelter in place, work from home, travel restrictions. These are becoming increasingly challenging. And how do you embrace them and continue to move forward without any impact on the continuity is one of the key things most corporates have been dealing with during the pandemic. So while the pandemic is going on, we do know that we are coming out of it, albeit in a slow manner. So businesses are looking for new models to achieve their goals without losing the competitive edge. And of course, at a lower cost, basically more for less. And fortunately, with the digital tools, very good bandwidth and connectivity worldwide, type of nature, a global remote workforce model is becoming the norm. And that's what we have been seeing over the years as a services company. And the pandemic has just accelerated that by an order of magnitude. So Argusoft is a software services company that essentially is different from a traditional service company in the sense that it acts like a remote partner and provides a team. And we do that in two manners. The first one is in a turnkey manner. So we have the ability to go from A to Z, right from a solution architecture design through business analysis, data analysis, software development, the DevOps angle for hosting in the cloud, etc., and of course QA. We have all the people in-house to handle these different tasks. We provide them like a team, unlike traditional companies that provide them like resources. And the most important aspect is we have pre-built certain technology platforms that we leverage as a way to reduce costs as well as shorten the time to market. One such platform that we have is a business automation platform, which helps with the business process modeling and workflow modeling. So we leverage this as an example. The latest turnkey project we did was for the government of Jamaica, the trust and estate management system. So as you can see, the system itself is a very complex system. It utilizes both web-based as well as a mobile interface, different types of domain knowledge that has to be incorporated in the business process workflow. So this leveraged our business process automation platform, and we were able to develop this complex system in a 2-year time frame with a team of about a dozen engineers. And we are in the process of supporting them through the deployment and implementation and training with a 3-year warranty support, where we continue to add the enhancements as well as fix any issues that have come up. So that's the key element of our turnkey engagements, where we're always there for our clients. We're able to handle very complex projects of this nature. The other more popular model that we engage with is as a remote partner. We call it this managed offshore development team. So it's really an extension of your team and not replacing it. And the way we do it is we provide a core team of developer and QA engineers. And then we have this team having access to a peripheral team, which consists of product project managers, UI, UX designers, business analysts, domain experts, along with the management oversight. So this is all provided as part of the loaded cost and not as a separate cost, because these capabilities are required off and on during the project and not throughout the project. And with this team kind of concept, we work with your in-house team as an extension of it. Sort of in this global world, we act like a branch of your company based out of India. So along with this, we essentially bring a high level of technical capability and quality without compromising on cost. We use all the latest tools like agile for the project monitoring and management, and we can get into the details at a later point. So I wanted to take with this introduction to give you an idea of some of our clients who have embraced this change, and tell you by way of stories so that you get an idea of what people were facing and how by engaging with us they were able to address their issues. So one of the companies we'll call FC was a small company started by domain experts. They deal with produce management, and they were not very knowledgeable in the IT area. They had used a local company, it's a US-based company, and built up some kind of an IT platform. And they were having a difficulty because that team had far exceeded their capability, and then they were being very unsupportive. So they came to us with an uncooperative technology partner, and we were given a shot of interacting with them once for a knowledge transfer and basically take over the whole engineering for this company. And we are now entering the 5th year of engagement. And that's one of our hallmarks, is that when we engage with people, we truly work as a team over a long period of time. So we do their complete engineering, and they have nobody in-house that addresses the engineering aspect. And anything to do with engineering, from design to development to testing to hosting, if there's any issues that come up with the portal, etc., we address it 24/7. Another company is also US-based, DSG. They also had a similar problem. In this case, they are a little bit more carrying some of the weight, where they have all the product specialists and business analysts on their end that are dealing with their customers and know exactly what they want product-wise. So we are truly the back-end engineering team for them. And we do all the translating the requirements to the technical software portion of it, and then maintaining and supporting that. And this was also a success story where we again had to take over from an engineering group that was very difficult to deal with and didn't want to cooperate. But we have the ability to be able to go in and re-engineer the whole platform, take it over. And then this again is a relationship which is running into the 5th year, I believe. A sort of a different example was interacting with a large Fortune 100 company like KPMG. So this was a group within KPMG that was working to build digital tools to enhance their consulting business. And traditionally, this was all done manually by human consultants. So they wanted to build a platform that the human consultants could use to configure and set up, so that the clients would be able to get real-time feedback on what they were looking for, the CXOs. So the Sophie platform is one such platform we built as a dashboard for various supply chain related data and analytics and reporting. And this was a case where this kind of expertise did not exist within KPMG. We started with a team of 2 people, and today we are at a team of 50 people working from entirely a remote location in India. And once in a while, we do send a couple of the team members on site as needed. So KPMG has been a big success story for us as a offshore MODC team. We also work with smaller companies like startup. So Ignite was a case where they developed a platform for commodity trading. The company itself was a single-digit number of employees, and they could not afford to hire. This is a US and Europe-based company, and they could not afford to hire the local talent, mainly because they could not get access to them in some cases, and if they did, they were super expensive. So we built a complete team, started with 1 engineer to help them out, to where we are now a 5-people team. And they're extremely happy with the way we have built the team and supporting them. And pretty soon we are on our way to become their complete engineering team. On the same front, for a smaller company which is well established, Lateral is a company that provides some form of a platform which does CRM and other functions. And so for the same reasons of not being able to access talent, cost and budget related issues, they slowly worked with us to build their team from a couple of engineers to a handful of engineers currently. So these are all some of the success stories. All these engagements are over several years, and that's the model that we follow, where we have a smaller number of clients that we work with, but it's a longer term engagement because we want to work for success for our clients, which indirectly is success for us. So that's my presentation today. What I wanted to do was hand over to Chandra to give a little bit of his perspective on the UK market mainly and surrounding areas. And then Hans will give a little bit of his perspective, and then we can open it up for questions.
Thank you, Ram. Meanwhile, a reminder to other participants, attendees, you can please send out your questions from whatever you heard from Ram. I appreciate that. It's interesting to see, companies of different sizes using the offshore development model, and especially companies like KPMG who have their own facility in India, quite large. They have 3 centers in Bangalore, Delhi, and Bombay. In spite of that, they go with a third-party vendor. That's mainly because I think of the agility that small companies can show to them. If they have to go to their own facilities for getting a project, then they have to stand in a queue of other projects which are in priority. So with that, I would like to share with you some inputs that I gathered more by research than by talking to people, because nowadays getting anybody to talk to is so difficult. Everybody is so stressed with so many things to do from home. We have to take care of a lot of cleaning and babysitting and stuff like that, and also cooking in addition to doing some work. So obviously COVID is a big shock for the entire world, UK too, and Europe is the gateway for Italy was the gateway for the entire Europe, and looking at the PwC report, which came in April. So they predict 5 to 10% of GDP decline in UK, and Europe will be 7 to 12%. It will be more, as you can see. Even Germany is really struggling to keep up. And then the good news is that the recovery people expect it to happen in 2021. So it's just a question of another 8 months of downtime. And various governments are providing financial support for the companies because we cannot afford to lose the competitiveness just because of this COVID or any other illness that is going to come, because natural disasters has become a norm. Every year we have so many different types of disasters, and this is a peculiar one. We haven't found the vaccine. I don't think it's going to happen the next year, according to the experts. But then life has to go on. Human race can definitely win over these kind of havocs. And always we find something good out of these kind of disasters, be it World War II, World War I. There are so many books written about them, so many things which are discovered. So a great thing that people discovered because of COVID is how to sustain using technology. People who are averse to technology, as old as 100-year-old person in UK, he decided to raise money just by walking, and then he used a fantastic digital tool called Just Giving. And he's an ex-army soldier. All he did was just walking around his house, which is no big deal, but for a guy who is 100 years old and who has served the army for ages, gone to war 3 times, it is a big deal. And he initially thought he will raise just some 50,000 pounds or something like that. And, he raised close to $40 million, sorry, beg your pardon, $40 million. So digital is the key for anybody to grow, whether he's an individual or as a company, So if you see the digital readiness in a Forbes survey, they found that there were more than 30 companies who are just not ready for digital because their software is sitting in the computers on-premise, or they just don't have any software, everything is handwritten, or they just are operating with Excel and stuff like that. And then the other 70% of the companies, they had digital transformation projects, but then they are not complete. They are all ongoing. And again, they're taken for a shock. So everybody now accept that unless you are digitally ready, you cannot survive, because COVID-19 is what we are suffering from. People say there may be a COVID-20, which is a different strain of the virus. Nobody has any control on that. Virus has its own mind and logic. So that is one takeaway from this pandemic. Then the other point that I observed is the good news, actually, is that the IT sector, there will be a boom. I don't know how many participants are from the IT services side. It's mainly because all these companies would like to jump in the digital bandwagon and get bits and pieces of their processes automated, completely digital. Data will be all on the cloud. They need to communicate within the teams digitally, at the same time securely. So they will be investing a lot of money on the digital just when they come out of the COVID problem. So there is an estimation of increase in the IT investments by 3%. And this is applicable to Europe and UK, but then it will be the same for other countries as well. And overall, where do they invest? When you say digital, it is a generic term. They will invest in e-commerce activities, of course, because you have to be online and you have to have your shop online. Otherwise, you can't sell. That's the situation. And then they will invest a lot in supply chain. because as you know, logistics is very, very important. People place orders, but then somebody has to deliver. And Amazon is one company which has gone up in stock value, in revenue. In UK, they recruited 8,000 people, just in the last 3 months, or less than that. Then cloud migration, people cannot now question whether they have to keep anything in on-premise. People have to move to cloud because it can be accessed by everybody at the same point in time. It is heavily secured, far better than on-premise. Digital transformation, which is a generic term, it means different things to different companies. Collaboration tools, as I was saying, many employees, if they have to work together, you need to have an efficient, secured collaboration tool. Things like Zoom, Teams, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet. So these are required so that people are used to communicating, sharing files, talking, video conversations, taking notes, storing them, etc., etc. Digital marketing is in, so people don't go out so much. So who are they? When are they going to see the hoardings, and paper advertisements? And chatbots, that's used heavily for customer service or doing many of the small, petty sales pitches, or digging information for the customers. So these are the areas where there will be a lot of investments. Then when it comes to industries, a lot of legacy industries who are very poorly automated, like retail, like real estate, like TPL, which is third-party logistics. There are companies which run small warehouses, small vans to deliver things. They were not automating anything because they were all mom and pop shows. They just know they have a couple of vans and they were running around. But then unless they have the technology, they can't be able to deliver faster. They can't be able to take the order in first place. Similarly, construction, I already said, real estate and construction. So they all will be investing a lot in the IT infrastructure. Then legacy loyals, companies which have invested heavily in IT, but then they were in IT for many years, that they also came up with a lot of legacy applications. So they are these banks, insurance companies, financial services companies, who have got a lot of legacy applications in mainframe, in mid-range, in client-server technology. They can't sustain maintaining them. They have to come to true cloud. So they will also be the one who will invest heavily to come out of the legacy systems and come into digital. And then what will they buy? They will buy products. They will buy bespoke projects, because bespoke projects are required in various instances, because many of the things cannot be solved by a product. Every company has got its own way of doing things. Within the company, every team has got its own processes. So bespoke is very much required. Even if you use a product, you need to implement it, customize it, link it through APIs, and make different products you have talk to each other. And you also have to integrate them with your vendors, with your customers, with your other partners, with your subcontractors. So you need bespoke IT vendors like Argusoft all the time. And now that cost is an issue, and also making people work in one place is an issue, or going to be an issue. Companies like Argusoft come very handy, because you can scale up the team, you can scale down the team, cost benefit is there on top of it, and you have established a business process set by these companies. So they are the best bet. And the last thing that people will invest in is training as well, because many of the employees don't know how to operate simple things like Zoom, Teams, and other gadgets, you know. So people need to be trained before they can work on them. So this is how people will be investing in, companies will be investing in. So that's a bit of learning I did in the last few months, and I thought I will share it with you. Thanks very much for giving me an opportunity. Over to you, Hans.
Yes, Chandra, thank you for this good overview of the market in Europe and in the UK. I will leave my video out, because if I turn on my video, you can quickly see me, it's not that exciting. It's taking too much bandwidth, we learned in practice. So I'm stopping my video, and what I like to share with you, I'm working now for about 9 months together with Argusoft, and learned a lot in the period, worked together with 4 or 5 companies as clients in the Netherlands. And in my presentation, the slides didn't make the pack, I see. In my presentation, what I'm going to look at is I'm looking at the number of open job positions over the last 2 to 3 months in Europe. And it wouldn't surprise you that that's changed a lot. The open job positions in Europe dropped heavily. In the start of the Corona time, in the first 2 weeks, it was between the 1st to the 15th of March. The overall drop of job opportunities in Europe was 21%. So that's a huge number. Never in history, as far as we know, there was that heavy drop. And if I look at the different countries in Europe, then Germany only had a 1% drop of open job opportunities posted on the web. France was 9.9, and when I'm looking at the Netherlands, my home country, it was 14%. While in Italy, that country was most, I think, almost in Europe for the COVID-19 point of view, that was 40%. So that was huge. These numbers are all IT related. So these are IT open job positions in Europe. One other thing I saw in the numbers, that there was one position that dropped the most. That were airline pilots. Open positions for pilots dropped 100%. So of course we knew that. So, but there was a growth in this period of COVID. Probably not surprising, but volunteers. The request for volunteers was 17.5%. People in logistics was 6%. But also, of course, healthcare. Healthcare grew 12% in open positions. So over the time, we're now almost 2 months after the 15th of March and 15th of May, in around that time. Since that week, the last week is changing quite heavily, and it's certainly improving. For instance, the Netherlands is changing from a intelligent lockdown to a controlled release of the measurements the government implemented. And that was definitely noticeable in the number of open job positions. Last week only, there were 50,000 new open job positions in the Netherlands. So people are starting to open up their hiring freeze. I think that is very important for the business that we're in. Companies are starting to close their projects and to reinstalling their projects and trying to find personnel. In the Netherlands, we saw a growth in the last week of 14% of business. So it's almost back to normal, where we saw in the early March that the Netherlands open positions in IT was a drop of 14%. And now last week we saw growth of 14% again. So what I see directly, and I cannot look beyond. Even looking into 2020, the next month will be difficult. But the rest of 2020, there will be a run on IT professionals from many companies. They are looking for IT resources to manage open projects. They won't probably deliver these on time anymore. That's a problem. But they hopefully want to deliver that on budget. So IT resources in the coming weeks and therefore I see a good opportunity for companies to work together with Argusoft, because Argusoft's MODC can be vital in sourcing staff to accomplish these projects that are back on track and back in business again. So that is what I wanted to share with you about the Netherlands and about Europe. Happily, for a lot of industries, we see companies are starting to breathe again, looking to the market and looking for resources. So that's my 5 minutes from the Dutch and European point of view, and I give it back to Ravi.
Thanks, Han. Thanks, Ram and Chandra, for your very insightful points. I'm sure the participants are really, they all will get benefit from this presentation. We do have 4 questions. I'm very mindful of the time that we have kept for this webinar. We set 40 to 45 minutes and we want to respect everybody's time. So I'm trying to take 2 questions out of those 4. Maybe Ram, you can answer both of them. The first question
Sure.
is, how can IT companies help other companies become digital ready or enhance their existing digital readiness? So this is the question from one of the panelists, one of the participants.
Okay. Thanks for that question, Darshan. Basically, it's an iterative process. Every client we work with, it's a mutual learning process. So since we have been working with many clients, Argusoft was established in the year 2000. So we're 20 years in business now. And so we have an entire environment. We follow the agile method of engineering, collaboration, sprint-based development. Sprints could be as short as daily to weekly to bi-weekly. And we have a whole digital environment of software development, staging servers, Maven type of software checking in, so that especially with global teams, our team as well as the host team as a minimum, there will be at least 2 locations. If people are involved in development, multiple people checking in code, checking out code to make sure consistency is maintained. Backlog of activities, Jira type of tools for bug management, Bugzilla, Jira, etc. So there are a whole bunch of tools and environments that we are already familiar with. So if the client comes in where they are not digitally ready and knowledgeable, then we suggest these environments. If the client comes in where they are using certain environments, then we are very flexible to utilize those. For example, instead of Jira, if they're using Bugzilla, then we would replace the Bugzilla Jira with Bugzilla in our suggested environment. So we're very flexible to doing that because, like I said, our success is our client's success. So it's a mutual training process. And if the client comes in with some prior knowledges and desires to use certain tools because of their team familiarity or their preference, then we honor that. And wherever there is a vacuum, we suggest the various options and we make the decision as a joint team. So that's how we work to help other companies enhance their digital readiness in working with us. Now, there was this question, I'll try to address all 4 if the audience is patient enough. So what are the challenges when you set up a remote team? So one of the biggest challenges in dealing with the offshore services team, especially ones from India, has been some of these companies are very, very large and their teams are like revolving doors. So the knowledge transfer, continuity are all impacted. And because of that, the client team sometimes faces some very difficult challenges on that continuity front. And that is one of the biggest things we are doing differently. So we are sort of focused on being small. So we're about 200 people currently. And the idea is to really create a whole team-like personal experience so that the client feels that we are truly an extension of their team. And secondly, of course, the team having the knowledge of all the digital tools and techniques required to make the project successful. Thirdly, some way to help with the domain knowledge itself. So to give you an example, in this Jamaica project, there was a whole component of trust accounting, which was a good 65% of the project weight. And trust accounting is an accounting specialty that the software company does not know. And the client itself, while they used the trust accounting system, they were not very knowledgeable of the theory behind it. So being in Ahmedabad, where Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad is there, and we have access to domain experts there that we frequently pull into the early stage of our projects to get that kind of a domain expertise. So the Argusoft experience is truly a team experience, a remote team experience, and not remote resources as what traditional service companies address. What was the most challenging project that you worked on? A lot of our projects are challenging in the sense that they are nasty divorces. So, like for example, in DSG, we were given the code base, and the previous vendor, who was a US-based vendor, told the client that we're walking away, we'll give you just one meeting. So our people had to go in, reverse engineer the code, understand it, understand the architecture, and be all prepared to have that one chance to ask questions and then forever hold your peace. So that when we had this 2-hour session, we asked some of the questions, they answered some reluctantly. And so pretty much we were on our own. But from a client perspective, their business has to go on. So we had to really understand, maintain the old code base as it was running their current system, and in parallel address the challenges and holes and build up refactor where necessary. So a lot of our projects are challenging in that respect, that we do not have any support from the previous engineering group or vendor. So last question was about how did Argusoft manage the transition to work from home at the start of the COVID crisis, and how is it working for existing clients? So this is something that amazed me as well as the management at Argusoft. We got the inkling on a Monday that the government was planning a lockdown in India, even though we were aware there were lockdowns in other parts of the world. But we did not expect that that would happen in India, that severe a lockdown, because India is such a vast country with so much people. And so we had 2 days to prepare, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday to put it in place. So in a place like India, we did not want the employees to be using the machines that they use for work for other things. And being at home, using the internet and doing a lot of searching and is going to be a very common phenomenon. So in some cases, we actually gave machines for the people to take home so that the work machine is separate. We set up VPNs and secure ways of connecting these work machines to the corporate servers so that the the customer's data is safe, secure, and all the privacy and everything is maintained. And we made sure that the audio and internet connections were at the highest level that were available, so that the quality of these video calls and audio calls were maintained. And to our surprise, we implemented that over 2 days, and we started working from home from the next Monday. And all our clients were very amazed at how we did the transition. And it was so smooth that they never felt that we had done the transition. We never formally made an announcement. And then when we sort of felt that we should have announced that we were now working from home just in case. And then we did that a few days later, said, oh, we didn't know that you had moved to work from home. So that's how we were able to do, and we ourselves are amazed. And that all the credit goes to our employees. So that's really what Argusoft is about, in providing our customers a very personalized, very comfortable, convenient, open kind of a team relationship. So we really believe in the team approach. And the fact that our customers stay with us for 5, 6, don't know how long. The longest customer we've had has been about 9 years. So we have yet to see if we can beat that record. So thank you very much for taking the time today. And on behalf of the panelists, Ravi Shankar, Chandra Mauli, and Hans Verbas, we'd like to thank you. And I'm assuming there is no other question. Go ahead, Ravi. Why don't you close up?
Thanks, Ram. Thanks for taking all the 4 questions. And we do have, we took the list of all the participants, and the backend team did a draw. And I'm happy to announce that Christian Hammer has won the Amazon gift voucher, and our webinar administrator will send the gift voucher details to Christian. Thank you all once again for your participation. We have a recorded session of this webinar. We'll be sending it to all of you. You feel free to share it with your network and friends. And if you have any further questions, feel free to contact us. We would be happy to answer them. Wish you all the best. Stay safe, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.